everyone, it's Karah, and I am actually doing a video because it was highly requested regarding my anxiety. Now, I have been diagnosed for a few years with general anxiety disorder. This is something that was new to me that I never had issues with before. I found out about it was because I had a very bad panic attack one day. It was so bad that it felt like I was having a heart attack. I could have sworn that I was going to die, and this was it. I was like, I'm going. You know, I was shaking, hyperventilating, I was dizzy, my ears were ringing. It was like a feeling that I was going to die. It was a feeling that something bad was going to happen. And though those are general statements, it's really hard to explain how I felt because this was the very first time I had a panic attack, and it was absolutely terrifying. So after the ER visit that I went to, I was told to go to my doctor. Went to my doctor and explained to him what was going on in my life. I was going through a really hard time. I mean, the first time in my life, a lot of bad stuff was happening that I felt like it was out of my control. And I felt like I was drowning. And so I told him what was going on, and he said, well, let's try to give you some medication and see how it goes. He gave me Lexapro, and I took that, and I felt like a zombie. Like, I love zombies, but feeling like one is definitely something I don't love. I was tired all the time. I was spaced out and zoned. Also, I gained weight from it really quickly, which is something that that medication has a habit of doing. Lexapro is an antidepressant, and it affects with your serotonin levels, and you can put on weight. So once that was happening, I felt like it wasn't even working. I felt worse. I was not who I had been known to be. I had no motivation, no nothing. So against my doctor's orders, I just kind of stopped. I figured I will get through this. I've gotten through worse stuff before. I just gotta power through it. Well, a few months go by and things started getting worse. My anxiety levels were going crazy, and I didn't know what it was because this was never something that I've dealt with. I was always worried. I was obsessively thinking about the things that were going on in my life. Well, then my grandmother died, and that affected me. And it affected me because she was like a second mother to me, so we were very close. And that kind of opened my eyes to life and how nothing's guaranteed. And even though I've known all of this before, it's totally different when you lose someone very close to you. And she was the first person that I've ever lost that was so close to me. That was a very important part of my life. Well, that happened, and I dealt with that pretty well, so I thought. And things just kept getting worse. Situations were getting worse. Things weren't getting better. Like, I was not getting a break. If you've ever heard Mindless Self-Indulgence, Witness, that was my song. I needed a witness to my life because it wasn't like this all the time. So I go back to my doctor because I was having more anxiety attacks, and it was like a rush, or like a I don't know, it's kind of as if like a wave comes over you and all of a sudden you can be fine, and then you're just absolutely like going into a mode of panic, like something bad was going to happen, but you didn't know what. I couldn't handle it because when I would have an anxiety attack, I would have to take a medication to take off the edge, and trust me, I had to wait a very long time before I said, okay, I'll take something. So that time from when it starts before I took medication was just torture. So he decided to put me on something else and told me, you know what, Karah, you have general anxiety disorder. You've been through a lot in your life overall as a whole. I mean, with my diabetes and everything, and there's a bunch about my life that a lot of people don't know that could affect someone. And he said it was perfectly normal. He told me, especially with having diabetes, that this is normal. And this is where my diabetes come into play. They gave me Wellbutrin, and I took that for a while. And it was okay. It's definitely different because whereas Lexapro affects your serotonin, Wellbutrin affects your dopamine, so you're happy. It's a stimulant. So I was feeling good and things seemed better, but my grandmother passing still affected me. I constantly worried about my health like crazy. I would focus on my blood sugars obsessively. All I kept thinking about is my health. I'm going to die one day, and I really don't want to die because of diabetes, and that's all I kept thinking about. I mean, you never know when your time is going to come where your life is over, and those thoughts are normal, but when you think about them all the time, when you test your sugar all the time, when you question, did I give myself enough insulin? Did I give myself too much insulin? What am I doing? Things started going crazy in my mind about my diabetes. I mean, I've been through a lot with my diabetes, a lot, and I've had control, or I've managed rather, pretty well up until that point. I hadn't been in a hospital since I was in my teens, and I had no real reason to worry about these things, but I am. But the Wellbutrin I felt okay on, so I went off of it, which was a bad move, because you're supposed to feel okay on it, and you're supposed to feel good. But here I'm thinking, I shouldn't need medications to deal with my stress, which is something I hopefully don't have to do, is take medicine forever, but it's something that I needed at the time. So going off of it also drove my sugars crazy. I didn't really know what I was doing. It got really worse this year. It got really bad. My mother was in the hospital and things weren't going too well, and here I am alone in the house without my mother there, you know, having to eat and test my sugar, but I was non-stop in an anxiety mode. I couldn't think, I couldn't concentrate, I was shaking. I couldn't even sleep because I was afraid if I closed my eyes I was going to die. I was afraid that my blood sugar was going to drop in my sleep. I wouldn't wake up, and nobody would be here to wake me up to test my sugar. All of these thoughts were racing through my mind while worrying about her. It was making my blood sugar naturally go crazy because stress affects blood sugar, and it's really bad. Stress is really bad for diabetes. So up until a few weeks ago, I decided to go back onto the Wellbutrin. The Wellbutrin helped me a bit, but the doctor put me on an instant release, which is terrible. It's really terrible. I don't even know why they create it, because the side effects on it are insane. It increases your anxiety, actually, which meant my anxiety was worse. It made me nauseous. It made me have no appetite at all. I'd be surprised if I ate maybe like 300 calories in a day while I was on that. And I stuck in it for about a week and a half. And that was torture. I mean, I felt like I was going to pass out at any given time because of the medication. So I told my doctor I needed to see him right away because I didn't know what to do. I was freaking out all the time and it was bad. He said, oh, well, I don't really know why we gave you the instant release because, yeah, the side effects on them are worse and it is going to cause your blood sugar in general to go a little bit crazy, so why don't we give you the slow release? Okay, so I take the slow release and it's so much better. So much better. It doesn't affect my blood sugar. It kind of affects my appetite, but in a good way, as in, like, I'm not just eating because I'm bored. I mean, I eat when I'm hungry, but I'm not just picking on things because I'm bored. But no side effects. And my mentality and my thoughts, I'm not obsessively thinking about things anymore. And it feels good. I mean, I feel like my old self. So the slow release Wellbutrin is what I'm on. Now, living with anxiety is really hard because you never know when something's going to happen. I mean, usually for me, having anxiety is in situations that make me uncomfortable or just high stress or something as simple as just worrying about my blood sugar, worrying about food and insulin. So it can hit me at any time, but being on the Wellbutrin, it definitely has helped me. And I've also have a journal that I write that's private. I talk to people. Actually, when I'm feeling really anxious, the best thing I do is talk to somebody about how I'm feeling. And usually that's my mother because that's the person that I trust expressing all of these feelings to. But if you have anxiety, the best thing I can tell you to do is talk to someone first. Talk to your doctor. try different medications, because not one pill is the same for everyone. There's so many different pills out there that you can take, and if you don't want to take any medication, good, don't. There's other methods. There's therapy. You can talk to someone there. If you don't want to talk to your friends and family, there's a therapist that can talk to you, or a counselor that can talk to you. Talking really does help because it confirms things. When I've talked to my mother, she's confirmed that I'm going to be okay because I've done it up until this point, that my worries aren't as bad as I make them to be. And just talking to friends even, I've talked to some of my best friends about situations, and they've talked me out of things and calmed me down. Now, talking to people or writing a journal may not be a long-term cure, but there are a lot of things, and this sounds really dumb, but it works for me. I listen to music if I'm feeling anxious. And I listen to a lot of Hedwig and the Angry Inch. Why all of a sudden am I listening to it all the time, even though I'm a major fan of the movie and the Broadway show? It's because I've seen the Broadway show twice. I saw it once with Michael C. Hall playing and once with John Cameron Mitchell. Those times were one of the happiest times of my life recently. So when I listen to that music, I think about the show. And you know how they say, think about an ocean and you're lying on the beach or blah, blah, blah? Well, to me, it's Hedwig. And it's not just thinking of it, it's putting yourself in the moment. Thinking about how you felt, how things smelled, how you just took everything in and start off there. And when I listen to that music, I can remember certain parts of the show that just made me smile and made me happy. And then I sing along with it, you know, or even it helps me to start off my day on my way to work listening to it. If you listen to something that makes you happy, most likely you might be happy through the rest of your day. Your mind and your body are like together as one. If your mind's going through a lot, your body's going to mirror that. So having an anxiety attack or a panic attack can eventually be managed if you keep your mind at bay and happy and peaceful. And it's harder to say that because it's taken me a few years to get to this point, but it's what works for me. So the biggest thing I can tell anybody to do is just talk to someone. Whether it starts with a family member or a doctor, just talk to someone. I definitely think someone should go to a doctor, and if you're already going to a doctor and things aren't working for you, you have to tell them. They can't assume that things are okay. They go by what you say, so you have to be honest. There's no sugarcoating things, there's no hiding things. If you have anxiety, you need to be honest, so you find a treatment that works. Or you're just going to be putting yourself through a lot of stuff that's not even worth it. Coping with anxiety is really hard because you never know when you're going to have some sort of attack. And especially with me and my diabetes, if I am anxious, my blood sugar goes crazy. But if I'm worried about my blood sugar, it's going to drive me crazy. So it's like a cycle. You know, there's so many bad things that happen to diabetics that I can't avoid thinking of. And they're thoughts. You know, I've had it for a very long time, and the next thing I need is a complication. And that's what I think about. And then I worry about everything else, like life, my car, my mother, health, overall health, you know, money. It's just a big plate full of things that are overflowing that I'm trying to clean up and maintain. So that's just a brief, short and sweet version of my anxiety. So talk to someone, whether it be a family member or a doctor. If you're going to a doctor, maybe talk about counseling or therapy. If you're doing that already, think of things that make you happy. Music, movies, memories. Think of positive things. The more you preoccupy your mind, the less you'll think about things that bother you. Be active, go to the gym, do whatever that makes you happy to keep your mind busy. And when you are feeling anxious and you're having an attack, just know that you'll get through it. Nothing bad is going to happen to you, and that you can get through this. You're not alone, and there are people out there that have the same symptoms as you. So I hope this video has helped and maybe gave you a little insight to me as a person and what I mentally deal with on a day-to-day basis is general anxiety disorder and diabetes. It's just, they're not best friends, but I make it work. And if I can do it, you can do it, because I'm no different than you. So, Hope that helped, and thank you so much for watching this video, and please subscribe to my channel as I'll have more information about diabetes and my health and all sorts of other things. So thank you again, and you have a good day.